we recognise that we're in a time of really unusual time, where obviously the rate of inflation is not, we're not keeping up with the rate of inflation with our income, and so a lot of people are in financial difficulty. And we've got lots of things on our website where people can go. So there's some people like to speak to somebody and ask for help. Some people like to do a bit of research. Some people won't discuss it, but if you sort of point them in the right direction, then they'll go and read and find out, and then hopefully they will get the help that they need. So all sorts of areas we can point people to. And that's what this is about, really. It's about promoting financial well-being. I've done some videos which again are on our website, or you may have a link to them. So there's a general video on our YouTube channel which is available for anybody to watch, which explains what financial well-being is, and anybody that you come into contact with who you feel needs some help in that direction. It's 15-20 minutes, it's not long. They can listen to that. You just go over to our website. From our website there's a link to the YouTube channel, and on there you can see the video about financial well-being. There's one that I've also done for people who are working in the community, and there's a link to that which I can, it's not on public view, but anybody can watch it with the link. So there is a link to that. If you haven't already got that, then please give me a shout and I can send you the link. And it's really explaining to our community workers who may come into contact with people, as Glenn exactly said, who need help, but some of the areas around financial help are regulated. So if people need debt counselling, if people need help with gambling awareness, or people need help with specific areas like they've got into trouble with loan sharks, they need specialist advice. And that's not something that you can give them or I can give them, but we have got details of where they can go and who can help them with that. So our role is to facilitate pointing people in the right direction who are in trouble and need help, but also to provide day-to-day loans and savings. We want to encourage people to save money. Difficult in this current climate, I know that, but we do also know that people are receiving help from the government, maybe in a lump sum, which they had in November. And what we want to encourage people to do is put that money into a savings account and draw on it bit by bit, because the money was meant to last over a few months. And that's what we want people to do, is to, you know, break that money down, budget with that money, see they can do with it over the next few months. And perhaps when times do get a little easier, which I'm hoping they will do at some point, that they start to make some regular saving habits to help them through difficult times in the future. So that's really what we are about. We're about an inclusive financial institution. And as I said, we've got, so the way we work, some of the credit unions, certainly Somerset Credit Union and Mendip Credit Union, do have outreach placements where you can go on their website and it'll tell you where you can go and see somebody in person. We don't work like that. As the West Country, everything is done online. So we have members of staff in the office, so they can pick up the telephone and talk to somebody, a real person. We're a very small team, so they will probably speak to the same person again and again, or at least if they do speak to somebody and say, oh, I was speaking to so-and-so last week, they'll know who that is. We've got, for those more tech savvy people, we've got an app called Nevo, and it's a secure app. It's like WhatsApp, but it's not. It's a specialist one for us. And they can talk to members of staff on that app. So for people maybe who, again, don't want to talk to somebody face to face because that's a bit scary, or maybe for people who find it difficult because they're deaf and they can't hear properly over the phone, then they can talk to people via the app. Or if language is a problem, then the app, they can use like a translate, they could copy and paste it into a translator, so that might help as well. So that's the way we work. We're all from our office in Portishead, but you can contact us from the website, from email, from the telephone, or from the app. Once you've opened and become a member, when you've opened an account with us and become a member, then that's where to find us. So we're concerned now that obviously a lot of people are using sort of buy now, pay later things to pay for Christmas. So that could become a problem in January when they haven't kept a tot up of what they've done. It's very easy. I'm sure you've noticed it. You're buying something online and it says pay for this in 3 easy installments. Well, when you've put 20 items on something that you pay for in 3 easy installments, those 3 easy installments are no longer easy. So we do offer loans, and our loans are from £100 upwards, which most of the larger organisations don't offer a loan that low. Most of our loans typically are £300 to £400. We will make sure that somebody can repay that loan. So we will look at their banking, look at their income, look at their existing payments and commitments, and we will only offer in an ethical and responsible way. So we won't lend money that people can't afford to repay, basically. And we're lending our members money. So if you as a member deposit money with us and save with us, that's the money we lend to our other members. So it's helping the community out. If you deposit and save money with us, most of our savings accounts don't receive interest. But what you receive is a dividend, because we don't have any shareholders to take the profits. Our members, our saving members, will get a dividend based on the profits that we've made. So that's how we work. So got any questions?
Yes, I do, Catherine. Can you use it as a normal day-to-day bank account? Do you get a card?
We do offer a day-to-day bank account. We're in the process of changing to a different card provider. It's the day-to-day bank account. There is a fee for doing it because we have to pay the card provider. We don't sort of have we sort of buy that system in from somebody else. So you can do it. We tend to find that it's for people who maybe struggle to get banking arrangements elsewhere that do come to us for their day-to-day banking. But we do have a lot of people who obviously come to us for their loans and savings and then do day-to-day banking elsewhere. So that's fine. We're flexible in that way.
Yes, because I know that people who deal with, who service or engage with or are part of small faith communities, a lot of them are migrants, a lot of them are new arrivals. Getting bank accounts, I know is a bit of a nightmare. Yeah, so do you need proof of address and things like that?
We do, yes. As part of our regulations, obviously we're regulated. The requirements we need to have is to have a fixed address and to have a form of income. Now that income might be benefits, it's not necessarily employed income, but we do need evidence that you've got those two things before we can open a bank account for you, and that's due to the regulations that we're constrained under. We have to have like an audit trail of how to get hold of people and things like that.
Sure. Okay. Anybody got any questions? No. Okay. Great. Oh, yes.
Sarah.
Sorry. You mentioned about having to show that they have income and possibly benefits, but I work with refugees, and you can't have your benefit until you have a bank account. So right. If they've applied for their benefit and can show that it's being assessed and they've got recourse to public funds, would that be enough?
I think I don't actually deal with the account opening myself, so I think we take each case on its own merits. I would say give us a call or send us what you've got and they'll see what they can do for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cart before the horse, chicken and egg thing. I've experienced it myself. Just recently, it took me 6 months to get a bank account in England. After coming back, and I'm a UK citizen, and speak the language, understand the system, and 6 months. So because I had no fixed address as such. So, but anyway, there we go. One thing I can tell you, if people are able to, but they do need to be here for 6 months, is to change their driver's license over to a UK one. And the bizarre thing is the banks take the driver's license as proof of address, but you don't need proof of address to change a driver's license over. Don't tell anybody that, Catherine. That's a loophole, and we're not going to share that information with the powers that be. Yes, Sarah,
yeah. Can I just say with that, for people who have come from Ukraine, if they change their driving license over, they will only issue it as an automatic license, even if they had a manual license previously.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay. Well, that is food for thought. So, you know, maybe there may be other ways that
I
if
guess
people
they have to take another test, possibly.
Yeah, they might have to retest. Yeah.
And the waiting queues for that are so long.
Huge.
So,
I think even getting your driving license at the moment is a problem because of the strikes, isn't it? Because of the Royal Mail. I know somebody's been waiting for hers for about 3 weeks.
Yeah, so there seems to be lots of barriers to engagement, which I think is great here, especially if, you know, we are from small faith communities or are, you know, engaging with small faith communities. This kind of information, you know, a problem shared is not quite a problem halved, but it is a little less problematic when you know other people.
I think, you know, from our point of view, with all of the credit unions, some of them are staffed by volunteers. So some of them, that's why the outreach places may or may not be running. So you need to check those. But at least you can talk to a real person. And, you know, I worked in banking. I worked for NatWest RBS for 27 years. And I know, like, trying to talk to the same person twice is virtually impossible.
Yeah.
So, and there's no banking branches anymore, so you can't go in and ask for help. Whereas I said, some of our credit unions do have outreach places that you can see a real person, or at least you can ring. And I know how frustrating it is, you know, repeating yourself with the same question and there's getting different answers every time. So I think at least if we can't help, and that is the main thing for us, is sometimes we can't help people because their situation is such that we aren't able to, we're not qualified to, or just we can't do that. But we will point people in the right direction and give them another route to go to. And that's our main thing, is we don't leave people just, sorry, you know, computer says no. It will be, well, we can't help you, but you could try this.
Great, thank you very much, Catherine. I'm just mindful of the time and that you must go. So yes, have a lovely Christmas if you celebrate, happy holidays and a safe new year. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks, Catherine.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. So just we're going back to what Glenn was saying about you know, what this event is really for, and it is for people from because my role is obviously the interfaith and belief coordinator, and working and also being a member of a small faith community, being Muslim myself, I understand that often your community base is migrant, is new arrivals, English is a second language, and so, you know, people face a lot of barriers to engagement just, you know, before they've even tried to engage. So this is really about being able to connect with those people from those communities, some of whom are here, and also people who work with those communities to help them understand what's really out there and where they can go to. So for example, now if you have someone within your community or someone that you're working with that does have banking issues, then, you know, I emailed you, and I can certainly, if you want to email me, give the link again for Catherine. You can contact her and get some direct help. And I think sometimes that's the difficulty, is people have got a lot of information, but they don't know where to go to. So yes, so Aitha, is it how you pronounce your name? Aitha?
Yeah.
Yes, so you want to just quickly tell us why you're here and what you do?
I'll tell you briefly because my colleague Deb is here to tell you more.
But, okay,
we
great.
work together at the Centre for Sustainable Energy. So I've just started, and I'm an outreach worker. So any of you, if you have small groups, big groups, somebody that you want somebody to come along and just sit there and talk to clients about any problems they're having with energy, debt, you know, getting all of these sorts of things. I've just made a note because I was having a conversation yesterday with a colleague about people who are perhaps newly arrived into the UK who aren't familiar with the ways that you get connected and have to pay or not pay. So yeah, I'm available as a resource basically to the actual clients, and that's why I'm here, is also to find out more about all of you. Yeah, hopefully when you get the links, you'll have my email address and you can contact me if you think, yes, I've got a group that meet every Thursday, could you come along and have a chat with us? And then we can do a bit more in-depth work to help people get access to various projects and bits of funding and so on. So that's me.
That's fabulous.
I'm really here on Deb Deborah's coattails because she's the one who's working with groups and connecting groups together. So I just said, can I come and watch? So
no, that's fabulous, and you're a fabulous resource as well, and that's a magnificent segue into Deb. Hello, Deb.
Hello. So yeah, as Aoife says, we're both from the Centre for Sustainable Energy. I've got some pretty pictures for you to look at and to remind me of what it is I've got to say next. So if you can indulge me, I've got a PowerPoint to share. Can somebody nod when you can see that? How you? Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so the CSE, we've been around for quite some time. It's not letting me move. Oh, there you go.
move.
So we've been around for quite some time, since the 70s. So we've been doing this type of work for a long time, but it seems like we are definitely in the forefront at the moment with the energy crisis that we are experiencing currently. But basically, we're looking for sustainability and carbon emission reduction, but we also are focusing on making the energy justice, making energy affordable for all. And what we want to do is share our vision and our knowledge and experience with you. So we do have lots of different projects. I'm going to talk to you about the 2 projects that are currently running in Somerset in a minute. But firstly, it's about explaining why do we do what we do. So there's a thing called fuel poverty that has been in the news quite a bit. So it's a term that many people are familiar with now. And there is quite a fancy way of working out whether you're in fuel poverty. But to simplify that, it's really if you're spending 10% of your income on your energy bill, then you are likely to be in fuel poverty. You're also more likely to be in fuel poverty if you are living in a privately rented property, if you're unemployed, if you have a prepayment meter, if you're a single parent household, and if your property has a low EPC. So EPC stands for Energy Performance Certificate. So basically it gets assessed to see how energy efficient your property is. So there are lots of people in Somerset that are in fuel poverty, and that was, you know, over 24,000 people actually, but that was before the energy crisis. So you can imagine that number has increased significantly in recent times. Now, the other reason that we do what we want to do is we want to prevent people from dying. Now, that might sound quite a headline, a tabloid headline, but there are many people that die every year, more than they do in the summer. That is a fact. That is what happens. And it's around about 27 to 32,000 people each year across the UK. But a third of those, their deaths are attributed to living in a cold home. So there's about 10,000 people across the UK that are dying every year that don't really have to. And they're dying because their homes are cold. And when we bring that down to the Somerset statistics, there's about 100 people every year that die that don't have to because they're living in a cold home. And I want us to find those 100 people amongst us, and I want to get them the advice, and I don't want them to die. So I know it sounds quite sensationalist, but actually 10,000 people is the same number of people that die of breast cancer. Wow. Every year, and we all know about that, and we're all worried about that, and we need to be slightly more worried about the fact that there are people living in cold homes. So it's about bringing that forward. So we as advisors and agents in the community, people like yourselves, volunteers and employed people working in, we kind of need to be a little bit more aware of what's going on. We need to listen to and understand what's happening to our clients and know what we can do about it. And that's why we're here today. So we will look and find out about how energy efficient people's homes are. We will talk to them about whether we can get their bills any cheaper, whether there are any discounts, extra support, that sort of thing. And we also look at their behaviour as well. So is there any things, low cost or no cost things that they can do to save themselves some money, save some energy? And we look at these 3 areas. So the first area is the behaviour. Heating in the homes and heating of hot water is the most expensive things we do. So we do focus on those quite significantly. But obviously, there's lots of other energy saving tips that we can do. And we are in the middle of a crisis. There are people that are not turning their heating on. So we've got, separate advice, if you like, for those. We look at the suppliers and distributors, so the priority services register. So for anybody that perceives themselves to be vulnerable, has a health condition or needs electricity for any medical equipment, it's advisable that they go on the priority services register. And we talk about, there's often issues with meters, there's often issues with debt. So we talk about all of those sorts of things. And we do have some financial support for those that are really struggling and in an emergency. So when it comes to the homes that people are living in, and that's whether they're living in rented or home-owned properties, we talk to them about how energy efficient it is and whether there's any insulation, any draft proofing that they can do, what's going on with their heating, if they're living in a mouldy house. So there's lots of advice that we can do, lots of grants that we can find people, lots of things that we can do about the fabric of their building. Okay, so we, it says it here, the choices that we make have a massive impact on the amount that our bill is. And I guess what we want people to have is more informed choices, and we want them to understand and to know what's going on in their homes so that they can make better choices. And everybody has habits. We all do. You do, I do. We all do things the way we do them because we've always done them that way. It's habitual. We do it. We also avoid things, and so there are many of our clients that won't open the brown envelope with the bill inside because they're frightened about what they might see, or they might perceive it too difficult or too confusing for them to learn how to control their heating supply. So they don't even want to look at it. They don't, they avoid it. And then often people don't actually know that what they are doing could be done a different way. So they're not even aware of the changes that they can make. Now that is changing because it's in the news every day, and it has been for many months now. Lots of people are becoming more aware and more interested and are seeking advice and information. So kind of that's our role, that's where we can come in, that's where you can come in as well, in terms of helping people to change their habits, to become more aware, and support them to no longer avoid the situation, because often we avoid things because of our mental health. We don't want to tackle that, and they'll need support to go through those changes. And we can do that through a couple of our projects. So we've got Safe and Warm Somerset, and that's a project both Aitha and I work on. That's exactly what she was saying when she introduced herself today. So we offer advice and support for any resident, so they don't have to be vulnerable and they don't have to be in fuel poverty. So we'll advise anybody that wants help. We have an advice line. It's a free phone advice line, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Somebody like me at the end of the phone that you can call, or a client can call, to get advice about their issue. We'll try and help them in that phone call, and they might be very merry and go away at the end of that and their problem is solved. Or we might need to support them a bit further, and if that's the case, then we will put them on the waiting list for an energy advisor to work with them on a one-to-one basis. We do that until really their problems are sorted. They come to us with one issue. It could be their home, it could be their bill, so we deal with that. But before they go, we always talk about the other areas as well. So we kind of try and be as holistic as we can about everything in terms of their energy. And as Aitha rightly pointed out, we do visit groups. So if there's a carers group or a support group or something that you can hit lots of people in one go, we can come along and give that advice. And if anybody in that group then wanted further advice, then again, we would put them forward for an energy advisor to speak to them, or potentially ask them to call us and deal with that later. But we also have the Rural Community Energy Advice Support Network, because we couldn't think of a shorter name to call it. So this is where we want to build kind of a stronger network of frontline workers and community groups who can support and provide basic advice around energy and have a little bit more energy awareness that they can share in their communities. So that's what this project has been born out of. People like yourself saying, I really don't know what to say. People are talking about it all the time and we really need some help with this. And so that's why we developed this project. So what we want to do is encourage you to have energy related conversations. If you're working in the community, it's just about identifying those that you think need some energy advice, and we want to give you a bit more knowledge to be able to have those conversations, to have better energy related conversations. So at the moment, often people are saying, oh, I can't pay my bill, and the advisor's going, oh, I know, it's terrible, isn't it? And then that's the end of the conversation. And actually what we're hoping really is, with a bit more information and a bit more knowledge, you'd feel confident to then further that conversation and ask a few more questions, find out a bit more, and then take it further. So what we're offering is some training sessions available for you. So there's an hour and a half long energy essential training, and then we have some additional sessions on a whole host of different subjects. There's one-to-one support from somebody like me, who, if you want to call and say, I'm about to go and see Mary, or Mary came to the group last week and I don't really know what to say to her, then you can ask me and then you can pass that information on. Lots of information, step-by-step guides. We've got videos on our website. We've got fact sheets, lots of stuff like that. And we also have a Teams channel where we will invite you to come along. And if you need any support, you can post questions on that. And again, if you have a community group, and quite a lot of the village councils are wanting us to come and help them to engage with the community a little bit more. So it's not necessarily working with the individual, it's supporting a group to work within their community. So we have that support as well available for you. And then of course, if it's the advice needed is more in depth, then you can always refer to us. We have a referral form on our website that you can do that, and we can then provide a bit further support. So here are all the different topics. So damp and mold is something that's happened to lots of people, so we give good advice around that. Draft proofing is something that we're encouraging lots of people to do because it's a small outlay, but you get quite a lot of money saving from doing that. So these are some of the training sessions that we have. And as payment, if you like, for all of this free training and free advice and free support, we would like you just to let us know how many conversations you're having. It's as simple as that. How many energy related conversations have you had? If you want to give us more information about that, because you're keeping that for yourself anyway, then great, tell us everything you got. But as a minimum, we just require you, or would like you to let us know how many, because then we can feed that back to our funders and kind of evidence that, we're making a difference with the money that they've given us to run this project. So get in touch, basically. So this is the generic, this project runs over lots of places, but Somerset and Wiltshire, but for us it's the Somerset website, or Ather and I will both put our individual emails in the chat in a minute, and if you want to contact us directly, then you are welcome to. So yeah, that's my lot.
Can I'll just add one thing as well, because I was listening into the advice line the other day, which is brilliant, is that if you are on the borders and you're picking up people who aren't in Somerset and Wiltshire, they can still ring the CSE advice line.
Oh yeah,
because there are some projects that are national, there are some projects, so it just depends. If they ring in, it's not like there's someone on a phone going, oh, you're in Dorset, sorry, we can't help you, because we are minded to try and help, and if we can't, then we will refer. As much as the credit union, a person whose name I've already forgotten, I've written it down, said, it's a conversation to be had which doesn't end with sorry, can't help you, goodbye. It ends with, let's see what we can help you with, let's see what we can do.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. I just wanted to be clear on, because often working with refugees and community groups, whether they're cultural or faith groups that are starting up, a lot of people have no funding whatsoever for their groups. And so I just want to be clear that with you, the training and
so training for any professionals, whether that's paid or volunteers that are running groups, would be free, and that's something that we would do under the Rural Community Energy Support Network. And if you wanted somebody to come to a group to talk to your client base, then that also would be free. Absolutely. We are a charity and we are funded separately so part of the funding that we have is from public health, because they're wanting us to kind of make a difference in terms of the health conditions, because obviously the colder, moldier your home is, the worse your CPD is or whatever. And we are also funded by Redress, who are so when an energy company gets fined for something like a data breach, that money goes in a big pot that charities can access, and so we're partly funded by them as well. So just to give you an idea, so everything would be free. So I encourage you to invite us to come along to your client-based group, and I also encourage you to train yourself and your teams up so that you feel a bit more confident about the conversations that you have.
That's fantastic. I do have one question, which I'm sorry that Catherine's not here, but as you can hear, I've spent many years outside of the UK, and a lot of those were in Australia, where my mother was on an aged pension, and the energy companies had a process where they did a monthly direct debit, well, actually even weekly direct debit from her account, so that she never ended up well, actually most of the service providers did that. Does that happen here in the UK? Can you set something up where a small amount is taken out often so that you don't end up with a large bill?
Yeah, many of the companies are flexible, and so you can arrange different payment plans. There's lots of different ways that you can pay your bills. So yeah.
Okay.
Just one other thing I'd like to answer, even though you haven't asked it, that the other thing that we do often talk to people about is water bills, because a lot of people are in debt with the water bills, and they are incredibly helpful, the water companies, and they have all kinds of schemes to reduce people's outgoings and to write off their debt, and to help people again with medical issues who need access to a lot more water. So somebody who has obsessive compulsive disorder and is constantly washing, they can get onto a register with a water company to cap their bill. So that the water is not just energy, water is also a topic that we often find ourselves talking about.
Excellent.
And the same thing
you've got your hands up.
Glenn, yeah? Glenn?
Need to unmute.
Unmute.
Yeah.
She's trying.
She's got to find there.
It's difficult to find the right knob. Sorry. I just wanted to say, I mean, thanks very much for that. Your organisation came earlier this year to an organisation I'm active in, the Senior Citizens Forum in Bridgwater. Had a fantastic impact, and a lot of our members are now on your priority register. So it just occurs to me, in Bridgwater recently, we started a Warm Spaces opportunity on a Tuesday, and I don't know if you've been approached by the Town Council, but I reckon that would be a really appropriate
Yeah, so we are working with Sparks, who's coordinating all of the warm spaces. So eventually we would like to be contacting them all. However, we encourage them to contact us first. So it doesn't matter how we get to you, but
we'll contact you first.
Yes,
Anne-Marie hasn't already.
Like that. And the priority services register that you mentioned, that's it's not CSEs. That is it is something that's good for those that are vulnerable, but that's for from the distributor and also from the supplier. So there are two types of priority services registered that you can access.
Well, so I can really recommend all organisations. But what I just wanted to ask was about not your responsibilities, but the other side of the coin. I mean, I was very much aware of this the other day when I walked into a high street shop in Bridgwater with glass doors wide open, heat blasting out. You know, part of the problem, and I'm not at all making any comment about people who can't afford to heat, but we have a culture, a civilization so-called, which has been encouraged to waste and you know, heat everything and do everything and spend a lot. And I just think that's so often left out. I mean, I was in a discussion yesterday when someone was talking about, you know, the massive importance of charging meters for electric cars. Well, actually, no, the massive importance is to stop people using cars, not just form another, because, you know, electric cars are expensive on electricity. So I was just wondering, you know, does that come into your work at all? Do you, or, I mean, I'm not suggesting.
Yeah, so we kind of have two halves to our organisation. So yes, we are about all sustainability and behavioural change around that. But the work that Atha and I do is very much about fuel poverty and reducing energy usage. So yeah, so there are two halves to the work that we do as an organisation, but have a look at our website because it will tell you everything that we do. Yeah,
thanks very much.
Thank you so much. That's great. We're just going to go straight into Sarah now, and Sarah is going to get us all warm by running around the room, I'm sure, being the Sports Association.
Bring it on.
Do you know what, that hello everyone, nice to meet everyone. We do normally do that on the majority of our webinars, but I won't be putting you through that today, if that's okay.
No, that's great.
I very much can. If people would like to get moving, then absolutely, but yeah, I've just got some information today about some funding that we have, and just generally trying to help people to be active at home or in the community. So I work for Somerset Activity and Sports Partnership, which is SASP, and we cover the whole of Somerset, and really working with all ages, so from early years all the way up to older people. And yeah, really we're trying to use physical activity to increase health and happiness. So I just have a couple of things to talk to you today. So I have just got a bit of a prompt, so I'm just going to quickly share my screen if that's okay. So just firstly, so yeah, at SAS we do all sorts, so there's just a couple of things that I've got today, but one of the most important things is the funding that we have. So we're funded by lots of
Sarah, excuse me, Sarah, can anybody else see Sarah's screen? No.
Oh,
okay, maybe just try again. It just says it started. Oh, there we go,
oh, sorry,
let
me try again. Sorry, it's in a Word document, so can you all see that?
There we are. Yes, thank you.
Fabulous. So yeah, so the funding that we have, so this, as I said, yeah, we're funded by lots of different people, have different funding from Public Health, from Sport England. So we're a charity, and yeah, we're funded by lottery funding from the government and lots of other smaller pots. But what we do actually have is the Together Fund. So this came out of lockdown, and it was really it was emergency funding to try and help people to be active during the COVID pandemic, but also to help them to get back into activity. We're now in phase 4, and things have changed quite a lot from where we were during COVID. So this funding is now to tackle the inequalities that's come out of the pandemic. So really trying to help people to start activity, to get back into it, whatever it is, whatever situation people are in. But this funding can cover all sorts. So any equipment that's needed, yeah, electricity bills, clothing, coach hire, travel, the instructor. So it really is anything and everything. And yeah, the 4 main priority areas that we're funding currently are people with long-term health conditions, people with disabilities, people that live in LSEG areas, so lower socioeconomic areas, and also our ethnically diverse communities. So we've had some really, really lovely projects so far, and they've all been so different. So yeah, it's really just to kind of bring your attention to this funding. We have it until later on next year. So the only thing around deadlines is that the applications and the funding needs to be out of our doors by March, but delivery can continue until August. So I know that it is really a difficult time of year with trying to get people active. But yeah, so we have still got the spring and summer months to be using this funding. But yeah, it really can be for all sorts. We've just funded a really lovely project in West Somerset, working with the Ukrainian families that are currently living in West Somerset. And again, it can be all activities and sports. So we fund lots of online dance, to cycling, to Pilates, to climbing, to it really is all sorts. So yeah, this funding is available and you can apply for up to 10 grand. And again, here at SAS, we're here to help you with the project planning and development. So yeah, if you do have any ideas, please let us know and we can work with you to form these projects or to link with other organisations that we work with. So then just moving on to the HAF programme. We're working very closely with Somerset County Council to deliver this government programme. So the HAF programme is Holiday Activities and Food Programme. We've renamed it to Happy Healthy Holidays for Somerset. So this is activities that are provided during each holidays. So the winter holidays, Easter and summer holidays, and yeah, it's free activities and food for children that are on free school meals, and for really kind of children that need it. So it is mainly for children that are on benefits related free school meals, but we work with the schools for them to identify other children that this could really benefit. So again, if this is appropriate to people that you're working with, please let them know. It starts next week, and there are still some spaces. So yeah, there's provision across the whole of the county, and again, you just need to pop onto the website, book your place, and yeah, there's lots of great activities and food provided for the children. They're also doing make and take, so a lot of the sessions are actually doing things in the day that they can be taking that food home for their families. So then just a couple of other bits. Again, we know how hard it is during the winter months to still be being active. We're very much around people just moving more, so very much doing kind of what they can within their own kind of ability and different things. So just a couple of things that people can be doing at home. We have quite a few virtual things. So Walk Your Way and Love to Pedal are virtual programs where people can be walking and cycling in their own homes, but actually watching videos of the lovely areas that we have in Somerset. So we've gone round and filmed various routes, so people can actually be watching this either on YouTube, or we've made DVDs for people. So yeah, still just being active in their own homes, but can still see the lovely places in Somerset. So with Love to Pedal, we do actually have the pedals that we can loan out to people. So again, if this is appropriate for anyone, please do let me know, and I can put you in touch with my colleague. We work lots with active living centres and care homes, so we've given lots of pedals to them, but we do also have pedals that we can loan individuals. And again, it's just a way to being active in their own home, yeah, with the support of some equipment. And then just some other bits. We have lots on our website around different resources. So again, I know it can be quite difficult. There's so much out there, so many different videos and things to, yeah, doing different exercise videos in your home. So yeah, we've just kind of made some ourselves, but also have just brought together a bit of a library and a resource hub of some of the good ones out there. So again, it's all on our website, but we have videos from just kind of taking 2 minutes while you're boiling the kettle up to an hour. So again, we're just trying to encourage that everyday movement and making it into a habit as part of other habits that you do. And then just on the Stronger for Longer campaign, this is very much aimed at 50 to 65-year-olds. So looking at that kind of improving strength and balance. So trying to prevent falls kind of in later life. So again, we have lots of different resources, and we've just currently made 2 new resources where people can use resistance bands. Again, we're very conscious of how much physical activity can cost sometimes with gym memberships or attending sessions and different things like that. So yeah, we're trying to make it as accessible to be able to do things in your own home. So again, we've got resistant bands that we can send out to people, and also the resource. So again, the videos and also the resource can kind of talk people through it. And again, just encouraging that everyday movement. And then just a couple of community activities. So we run the Somerset Health Walks for the county. And again, this is a really lovely service where our walks are run by volunteers. And there's lots of different walks around the county, very much kind of different levels. And they always end at a cafe. So again, it's really kind of encouraging that social connection, but also the physical activity of walking. So again, all the information is on our website, and it's run by volunteers, and we can also help to provide that volunteer training if you did want to lead some walks yourself. But again, yeah, really lovely walks in lots of different areas. Just because they're health walks, you don't need to have a health condition or anything. It's more around kind of the mental well-being side of things as well. And again, that's for all ages. So again, if you have any questions on that, please do let me know. The other thing just to say as well is we have just launched a new volunteering program where we're actually trying to match individuals with a person to help them again to be active, to have those conversations just all around the social side of things. So yeah, we're looking for volunteers to match them with other people. And again, this program has come out of COVID. We know that the loneliness stats are kind of through the roof at the moment. So yeah, this is a really lovely way that we can connect an individual with someone. And it may just be helping them with their gardening, taking them for a walk, any type of activity that person wants to do. But yeah, really kind of looking at that one-to-one support now, kind of over the group sessions. And then just lastly, we have so much. I had to kind of choose what to talk to you about today, but just to let you know about the health and wellbeing service that we have. So we have coaches that are in doctor surgeries. So at the moment, we're just working in the Bridgewater area, North Sedgemoor and West Somerset. But we have health and wellbeing coaches that can support people to improve their life choices, improve physical activity, nutrition, diet, all of that type of thing. And again, this is a really new service for us, again, providing that one-to-one support. But yeah, anyone can use this service. They just need to go into their doctor surgery to ask about it, or can go through our website. We are looking to expand across the whole county, but again, there already is this. So some doctor surgeries call them social prescribers, and there's lots of different names for these kind of health and wellbeing coaches, but we're just in these three particular areas. But again, people can self-refer in, or they can be referred by their doctor. And again, there's one-to-one service, but also group sessions. So looking at weight management, living with diabetes. We have a women's wellness group, and also kind of pain management. So yeah, really looking at those kind of long-term health conditions, but again, helping people to make healthier choices. So that is just the information that I have today. We obviously have so much more. We work lots with families, yeah, really all the population. So if you do have any questions specific to an area or a particular demographic target group, then please let me know. But yeah, the main thing is just helping people to think more about activity and yeah, being active in these winter months.
That's great, Sarah, thank you very much. The question I have, I think, is probably the same as Sandra's, who's put it in the chat. It said at the beginning of your presentation that groups that had a constitution, many small faith-based groups, you know, a group of perhaps 10 people or less, they don't have any formal structure to them. So would they be eligible? And also primary schools, as Sandra's asked, in deprived areas who perhaps are maybe don't meet the constitutional criteria? How does that work?
So we have had a couple of groups that has happened to, and what we've done is worked with another organisation to give them the money for that particular group. So we've worked with CCS, they've been the holders of the money for particular groups, or the parish council, or another kind of organisation that has all of those the due diligence and policies and different bits to then work with that smaller organisation. So yeah, there's definitely ways that we can help to get around that. Again, yeah, we're working with really local kind of grassroots communities, so yeah, whatever way we can help with that, but it's more kind of yeah, giving that money to that constituted group to then help that community.
Okay, so just to let people know, Community Council for Somerset is our parent body, Somerset Diverse Communities parent body, and yes, we can, Somerset Diverse Communities or CCS can actually help your group with accessing funding if they do require you know, a variety of boxes that need to be ticked for their own funding providers requirements. So if you do have anybody or any faith-based groups or small groups that you know, may be able to link into Sarah's programs, then you know, contact us and we can help you work with Sarah and see if we can help administer that grant for your communities. On another note, I'd just like to make a point that a lot of people, particularly women from migrant communities, and particularly migrant communities that are differently faith-based, so Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, people who perhaps don't have a large faith network around them, often isolated in their homes. So, you know, getting out even to the shops to go for a walk can be quite frightening if you don't know the language, if you don't know how it works. You know, if you don't have English, then, you know, asking for, you know, a bottle of milk across the counter is very confronting, and takes a lot of courage, and often people don't have those opportunities to practice their English even if they're learning it. So if you are working with, or you are from small communities that have people, particularly women, who are kind of locked in their homes, something simple like if you're going to visit, then taking them for a walk to the shop to buy something, so that you can help them with their language, you know, even just taking them for a walk to the park, getting them physically out of their house is something that is really very helpful. And you know, sometimes people say, oh, connect them to the mosque or the temple or wherever it is, but that small faith-based communities don't have the manpower or the resources to help people on individual levels, even though they do. Most of their manpower and resources is taken up by helping people on individual levels. And so, yeah, you know, a lot of people kind of say, oh, well, I took them to the mosque and then the mosque didn't do anything. Well, you have to kind of think about, you know, often do you take someone to the local church and then the priest comes to visit? Sometimes they do, but sometimes they're so busy that people fall through the gaps. So if you are working with, or you're a village agent, or you're people who work with community, you know, a simple thing of, you know, let's go for a walk to the end of the street, it's a sunny day, can have a huge impact on somebody's health. That is isolated, you know, people are isolated from a variety of reasons, but when you're in a small faith-based or migrant community, you know, that's a double whammy for you. So so yes, so thank you.
Janine, can I just say as well, so with that funding as well, it's not just to kind of think of your traditional kind of sports and physical activity funding applications. We do have the flexibility to look at translation. So we've funded several projects to have translators to come in and run that particular dance session or Pilates session. We've translated different websites and resources. There's lots around the provision of food and different things. So I think it's just thinking about it, the loosely based physical activity, but the other wider things that we can help with tackling inequalities. As long as there's a bit of physical activity and bringing people together, but there's the other stuff that, yeah, we're all working so hard to support at the moment.
Great. Thank you very much. Now we're running a little bit late, but if people would like, we could have a 5-minute break, or we can just keep going. What would you like to do? Everybody okay with keeping going? Yep. Okay, let's just keep going. Okay, so then we would like to welcome Sandra, and Sandra is from Citizens UK. Are you there, Sandra? Hello, Sandra.
I'm here.
Oh,
I'm
hello,
here.
hello.
Hi, I'm just
Hi.
wondering, is my internet connection strong enough? Can you hear me?
Yes.
You were
Yes,
breaking
we
up
can.
before.
Oh, okay. No, yes, we can. Yep.
Okay, let me know if it doesn't work, and then I'll change to my phone.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me today. So I'm from Citizens UK, and I'm the senior schools organizer across the Southwest. That's covering Bristol, Somerset, and Devon. And I'm also the community organizer for Citizens Somerset. So I don't know if you know anything about Citizens UK, people present. We call it the home of community organizing. I think Emmeline knows about us because she's been on training with me, actually. So we call ourselves a people-powered alliance, and we work on social justice issues and things that say are for the common good. And in doing that, we tend to find the sort of byproduct, which is actually the main aim, is to build stronger communities. So we use the method of community organizing, and that helps local leaders to develop their voice and to come together with power and with a strategy that they need to make real change. I would say in the past, the campaigns that Citizens had worked on were very local, important, but very local, and smaller issues, I would say. Things like getting a pedestrian crossing in front of a school on a dangerous road, or lighting in a park because of safety issues. Now we find ourselves working on things that can be changed only like at government level. So it's like systemic change that we're looking for. And what we do is we come together across the different chapters, we call them chapters, the different citizens alliances that are around the country, and kind of work together on things that are big. So recently, we've just had an incredible win. People who have no recourse to public funding were previously excluded from, let's say, free school meals or pupil premium. And we've just managed to have a win on that. And now our schools can actually help their parents apply for this extra funding. But the important thing about that win there is that the Home Office cannot access the information that parents input into the Department of Education, because before what was happening is that people were, sort of being targeted by the Home Office, and therefore they were afraid to give their details, quite rightly. But now we've managed to secure that safe area for them to input their information, get the funding they need, so that all children can have hot meals at school and the support that they need at school. So that's one just like really recent thing that we've managed to win. If you go onto the Citizens website, it's just citizensuk.org, you can read about all the amazing stuff that's been done. So in 2019, we launched the first rural chapter in Somerset. And then, of course, we're hit by the pandemic, but that didn't stop us. We marched on through Zoom after Zoom after Zoom, and have actually managed to do quite a bit of work to date. Sorry about background noise. So firstly, we're working on a campaign called the Wellington to Taunton cycle path, the cycle route. That's going really well. The council are in agreement to work on it and have just funded a £50,000 feasibility study so that they can apply for the funding, which is going to be about, say, 9-10 million to deliver this. We are also working on a housing and homelessness project to provide modular homes for those experiencing homelessness. And again, with the council, we're just waiting for the final yes for the funding from within the council. to put the first pilot project of 8 modular homes in Taunton. And the idea, of course, is to roll this out across the county. So we're really happy about the work that's happening there. The 2 issues that they are sort of on back burners at the moment, because we don't really need to be working much. We're waiting for answers and then we'll carry on. The next 2 campaigns that we are currently working on that are huge. One is for the real living wage. And we find that this is, in the cost of living crisis that everybody is facing, this is one of the strands that really can be of great help. So making sure that everybody's paid the living wage, which is £10.90 across the country, except for London. And so we work together with organisations to try and help them to become accredited. And in April, before the elections for the new Unitary Council, our council in Somerset agreed to be a living wage council. And this is extraordinarily important, because once you have your council on board, and then working with the new ICB, the Integrated Care Board, that means that you're covering an enormous number of jobs and job roles across the county. And so that means uplifting lots of people all together. So we're waiting for the new council to come into being, and then slowly they will be able to sort of migrate their contracts over to the right wage. What else there? Yes. So that's from that point of view. The other campaign that is current and is very big is about safety. So we're finding increasingly in schools incidents of children being involved in drug dealing, obviously through county lines, and also just the amount of physical violence is on the rise. That's in schools. Then in parks and around the streets, again, we are seeing an increase in violence. So we are going to carry out now a listening campaign. At the moment, our alliance spreads kind of from Wellington to Bridgewater. We are reaching out to other areas in Somerset, but we'll probably be doing that through our churches. So if we have the Methodists, the Quakers, the URC, and the Anglicans. We have sort of the intention, slowly but surely, to be adding more and more of their churches to bring them in. And then, of course, there's schools. Schools are fundamental to this work because schools bring in children, but also parents and grandparents and other people working with them, other agencies working with them. So we intend to carry out a listening campaign of about 2,000 people across our area, a little bit broader, so that we can sort of bring together what people are actually experiencing with regards to safety or the lack of. And also we have this belief that the people who actually experience the issue are probably the experts and are best placed to tell us about what solutions would look like. So it's very, very much about getting people to take power of their own and to get the justice that they want to see and to be around the decision-making table. And that leads to a development of the person, first and foremost. And, you know, it's kind of like people who are not the usual suspects, if you know what I mean. And that means that reaching out into diverse communities, into places maybe where people haven't had educational possibilities that others have, and just developing their skills in leadership is really, really important, and it's transformative as work, I have to say. Then, of course, the second strain to that would be in the institutions themselves. We find that the institutions kind of like deepen engagement and deepen relationships with each other. And because we're bringing various organizations together, we are getting that cross organization input. And so we like to say it's like reweaving the fabric of society, because if you come together around a common cause, it doesn't matter what your background is. And so we give people opportunity, and especially children, to be working from people who come from a church, who come from a mosque, who come from a synagogue, and all of a sudden, and also cross-generation, of course. And all of a sudden you have you know people, you meet people who've come from completely different background to you, and that of course is going to influence and shape and form your understanding of the world. So that's really dynamic as well, I find. So where am I? Right. So basically, my plea to everyone is, it's very hard for us to get into communities who are not the usual communities that we're used to engaging with. And, sometimes we find ourselves working with people who are white middle class and who belong to your churches like the Anglican Church or Methodist or something. So in any forum, I like to reach out, and to this one in particular, and to say, we need to be able to get in touch with and form relationships with people who are from diverse communities. So if there is a way, if you do have groups or things that you do that reach out to these different communities, and you could perhaps talk about citizens and maybe introduce me to people in a safe place and in a safe way that they would feel comfortable. So not them coming to me, but me coming to you. I would really, really appreciate that. Any questions? I've ranted on a bit.
No, it was absolutely wonderful. It was great. And you just answered my question in your last comment about more diverse communities. I think the difficulty is, I took up the role of Interfaith and Belief Coordinator in June, and not having lived in Somerset before, the biggest hurdle that I am facing is the disconnect because of location, that people, and I think, I'm not sure if it's in other counties in England, I've been away for a long time, but people like to live in their little village and their little space, and they don't tend to venture outside it. Yeah, they don't tend to venture outside it, whether they be, the white middle class or, the recent refugee. I think it is part of being part of a rural community. And so from my perspective, it has been difficult to connect with and build relationships with people from small communities. And when we talk about small faith communities, for example, the Baha'i community, it's taken me months to contact one Baha'i person. So if we look at the census, we look at, for every 100 what we perhaps would call mainstream people, there's probably maybe half a Sikh. So it's very difficult. And the word minority is not really a word that's liked by people from small faith communities, but I use it in the sense of actual numbers, so that we have, when you look at the census for Somerset, which has just come out, we really have, like, for example, the mosque in Yeovil has a total of 700 people, and those 700 people fund absolutely everything, the building, any money that perhaps the small stipend that the imam gets, if he gets it, he has to work another job to support his family and be the imam. There's no money for social workers, there's no money for outreach, there's no money for any of that type of thing, because it comes from those 700 people. Now, I believe the Bridgewater Mosque might be even smaller than that. And so a lot of the barriers to engagement with small faith communities is not because there isn't any goodwill or any interest. It's just simply they don't have the manpower, or they're just trying to keep their heads above water, particularly with this cost of living crisis. A few of them had responded and wanted to actually attend, but weren't able to. So, this being recorded will go out to these communities so that they can actually, watch it at their leisure and be able to disseminate the information to their groups. But I guess what I have done, and the way I have, and I'm part of a small community, so being Muslim, you would think, oh, they'll open you with open arms and you'll get right through the door. But on the other hand, they're probably more honest with me than they would be with somebody else, and they can simply say, it's not that we're not interested, it's just that we're drowning here. And so I guess one way of trying to engage with people is to make them the subject and kind of not the object. And so if we can find ways of perhaps engaging with other groups who are working with refugees, who are working with small faith communities, to actually find out what their needs are, and then go to those communities saying, I can address that need, is probably a better way of trying to engage with these communities. Because if you go and you say, what's your need? They say, how long is a piece of string? So if perhaps we can, work together and communicate with each other about, well, I was working with a Somali group, I was working with a Muslim group, I was working with some Hindus from India, some Sikhs or whatever, and this is what I've discovered and what I've found, then it gives a little bit of the background of what you're actually looking for. Because often people are so overwhelmed by everything, they don't actually know what they need. They don't know what they are missing, because they're just living day to day trying to engage with everything. So the wonderful, absolute incredible work that everybody's doing, particularly Citizens UK, they're missing out on, because they don't quite understand it. But I think from the wage perspective and the information gathering, that certainly could be a way to engage people, because it's actually not saying to them, I've got this, I can do that for you. It's actually saying, I need your assistance to help with things. So the other thing about being in a small faith community and from a refugee perspective is that you're often the guest. You're always the guest. You're never the person that someone goes to instigate things, or to be the leader of, or to be the host. It's always, you're in a position of always slightly underneath everything. And so, if you can find ways of empowerment by making them the center, and you all know your work far better than I do, and how you would actually do that, but making them the center of the situation. We are all people who do things because we think it's going to be good for us. All of us go.
Can I just come in?
Yes.
Can I just come in there? What you said, because you raised a very valid point. I think what I find so powerful about Citizens is, because it's so big, we have so many different places in the country where things have been done successfully, and we tend to draw on the experience of who has done what, so that when we do need to speak to an imam in a community or to any other leader, it's not that I know how to do that best, it's that another imam knows how to do that best. And so that's how we put people in touch with each other across the country, and it helps people feel really supported, because it can be very lonely when you're trying to struggle along with your little group. But when you have this outreach to other communities, and they can see what has been done in their own name, not people doing things for them, I think that's really, really powerful. Because you're right, people do sort of come from underneath, but we have a way of flipping that on its head, which is truly beautiful. And so I would encourage people to think about that. I don't know at what point I lost connection with you. I had asked if there were any questions that anybody wanted to ask me. And then I was met with a frozen screen.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Glenn.
Yes, I'm not sure. That's fantastic. But yes. Glenn.
Oh yes, I am unmuted, aren't I? Yes, thank you very much, Sandra. A couple of things. I think it's absolutely right to stress a positive approach. About 7 years ago in Bridgewater, we started an event called Bridgewater Together, and it was it was at a time when people were being very negative, when people were experiencing only having problems. And what we said we want to do is celebrate diversity and celebrate. And what it's actually very difficult. What happens, I think, I've come to the conclusion, is that incomers have to, because they meet with hostility and sometimes violence, have to spend a lot of time building their reserves and building themselves as a group. So it's actually unreasonable to expect that suddenly, because some well-meaning person comes along and asks them to break out of that. So it does take a lot of time, but we're now starting to see, I think, the outcome of, for instance, the East Timorese community being involved and showing us their dances and their food, and I think that's quite important. But the other question I wanted to ask you is, of course, on the issue of the living wage, is do you work with trade unions, because they're obviously the prime organisation, and what I would hope you do is encourage, for instance, migrant workers to join unions. Right, thank you.
Absolutely, yes, we do. And again, picking up on what you said about people from these groups coming out of their community into what we're doing, we tend to use the opposite approach. We tend to go in and find them where they are. Excuse the use of they, it just seems to be an easy use, but I use it in good faith here amongst ourselves. We find that is what is so strong, is that we go to where people are in their familiar and safe surroundings and work with them there the way they are used to working. So the experience remains completely within their comfort zone. And yeah, that's just how it is. We take a lot of training, and yes, and there's just this network, which is so important, and a network amongst like-minded people. So it's leaders have told me that they feel very connected, and they feel supported, and they feel that they have a voice, and that their voice can be heard. And I don't think there's anything more powerful than that if you want to tackle, any kind of discrimination. I think that's really the way to go. I'm so excited about Citizens. It hasn't been long since I've been a full-time organizer. I've come from King's College in Taunton, where I was the leader there. So I've seen it work from my point of view, just as a leader, and the changes that we've managed to make in the school, and already the campaigns that we're running outside. So I'm here. I hope you've got access to my email address. I'd love to have one-to-one conversations with you all, just to see what you're doing and get to know you a bit more, because I think it's really important to know the social fabric of our county.
You mentioned that you did some training with Emmeline. What was that, and how do we access it?
Yeah, so we have different kinds of training. I think it's best if I send you an email, and then you can send it out to everyone, so we don't take up time now. But there's different kinds of training, and I can explain to you how we promote all of them.
Okay, great. And sorry, my other question is, or certainly, first of all, I think you're a great example of best practice. So you've worked out where things are working, and then you're emulating them rather than trying to reinvent the wheel in another place. So I think that's wonderful. Well done. And I think we can learn a lot from that. And with regards to your outreach work, you were saying that you were doing it in a particular area at the moment, with your program. Can people from other areas contact you saying that they would like their area to be involved?
Absolutely. That is the way that we expand. We don't just go in and say, okay, let's go, who's next on the map? It's not like that. It's actually through connections, so that they're meaningful. And then if we go into an area, then we will find that the people there might be one point of contact, but those people will have all the groups around them, and so be able to bring other people in as well. So really happy to have conversations around that. Arthur, you have your hand up.
It's not a question for you, Sandra, but that was really interesting, because I didn't know anything about your organisation at all. It's just a point, because I have to go in a moment. I have to be gone at 12.
Sure.
And I'm recognising, I was having this conversation with my colleague yesterday, actually, about the face-to-face energy advice, particularly coming and talking to groups and so on. I mean, Yeovil, for example, we're going to be in the library, etc. But listening to what you were saying about the mosque and so on is, for those of you, and I guess this would apply to Sarah as well as you, if you want to have a conversation with me about what is needed, what would be useful, and in what format you would like it, and again, in terms of translation services and so on, because it was just yesterday talking to my colleague about the fact that people who are perhaps haven't lived in this country previously, we take for granted the fact that we do have direct debits and prepayment meters and all these sorts of things. But for those of you to think, is there something that I could bring that would be useful, and in what format you would like it? And then connect with my email and we can have a conversation about that. Only because I have to go in a minute, and I know I haven't sort of spoken to everybody, but what you've all had to say has been so interesting. But I want to make sure that what I have to offer is not a one-size-fits-all, sausage machine, that I do have, I am connecting and I am providing advice in ways that is useful to the groups that you all represent, basically. And it doesn't matter if it's 5 people or 100 people. Yeah, I'm happy to come. and have a chat. And I you know, I know what Deb is offering is really, really important and useful. I'm sure she'd agree, to get that training and to connect with people that are connecting with people. But if you've actually got a group that you're going to be sitting in front of at some point, but you need me to come in a particular way, or maybe you don't need me to come, maybe you need, I mean, I've worked with youth club services in London, and for the young Muslim women, the youngsters, we had to have female workers, but it may be that you need a male worker for some groups. That would be better. And we have lots of volunteers who come out and do advice work as well. So just if you tell us what you need and in what shape you need it, I'm sure that we'd really be very happy to provide that, rather than simply offer what I've got and that's all you can have, if you see what I mean. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good. Okay, that's me, because I've got to go into
no, it does. I wasn't sure if Sandra was going to respond. Yes, it does. And I think maybe what could come out of this is to have a small network going on around this topic, where, you know, we can, if it's all right with everybody, I can share your emails within this group, and then, you know, we can work out ways of supporting each other and supporting small communities. One question I did have for you, Sandra, is do you just do groups, or can one person just come and contact you?
You can come and contact me as one person, and then I explain to you how it works like that. Okay. We do have a special way of accommodating one person at a time, but mostly we are organizational based.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Thank you so very much. That was great. Okay. So next we have Carolyn from Somerset Libraries.
Hi everyone, I'm having a bit of trouble with my Wi-Fi and the bandwidth, so I'm not sure if my video will work or not. I'm not sure. I don't know if you can see me or not.
Yes, we can. We've had a few, yeah.
My screen's completely black, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we've had a few people drop off and a few people not being able to get in, and so I think there's a bit of an issue. Maybe it's the weather, but we will persevere. So. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, I just want to say it's been really interesting listening to everybody speak about their different organisations, and I've been taking a few notes, because obviously the library service, I guess one of the greatest things that we can offer to organisations is that we are a venue. So if you, for example, want to give advice to people, our venues, like all our libraries, are a really good place to come and do that. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there as well, because I know we've had like organisations, employment services have come in, given people advice about finding work. We've had Wessex Water came in and did sort of like a stand to help people with their bills. So, you know, we can host lots of different things in the library. What I'll try and do is put the PowerPoint on that I had. So I will see if I can get this to work. You have to forgive me because the computer's not behaving at all. Can you see a PowerPoint at all?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. I'm having real issues with the computer at the moment. Right, let's see if that will work. Can you see that?
Something, yes, perfect, yes.
Ah, brilliant. Okay. Right, okay. So yeah, my name is Caroline Crossley. I'm a library outreach officer. So I'm mainly based within Sedgemoor. I do cover West Somerset as well, but there are 4 library outreach officers. So you've got one for each area of Somerset. To be honest, that's probably going to all change soon when the county becomes one Somerset. So yeah, I'm just going to give you a bit of a whistle-stop tour on some of the things that the library service can offer people. So we've got a new language, online language software that's come in. So if you've got a library card, which is obviously free, all our services are free, you can access this service called Transparent Language Online, which it gives you a little bit of information about it here. There's loads of languages on there that you can learn, and one of the things I think would be good for our diverse communities, I know Janine, you were saying earlier about the women finding it hard to learn English, and sometimes the ESOL classes might not be accessible to them for whatever reason. I know sometimes childcare and transport's a barrier. So this is an online thing that you can access with your library card, which is really good. So if there's people on the call today that support our diverse communities, if there's a way of encouraging people to go into their nearest library and sign up to the library, it's a really, really good service to have, because they can access all this other stuff for free as well. So there's that one.
Carolyn, sorry, are you supposed to be clicking on these so they get larger? Because we missed the first one. We've just got thank you and Q&A on the screen here.
Oh, okay.
So maybe just click on each slide so that it's because maybe it's not playing.
Okay, that's not right then. I don't know why it's not working. Hang on, let me
see them in the thumbnails, but they're not actually on the big screen.
Oh, okay. See, I told you the computer's really playing up. Is it working now?
No, maybe maybe click slideshow.
Yeah, I did that one. Sorry, everyone.
That's all right.
I think it's probably to do with my home Wi-Fi, maybe. I don't know.
It may be too slow to actually upload the whole thing.
If you click slideshow in the menu at the top.
On the actual PowerPoint.
Yeah. So if you go slideshow.
If you go right to the top,
Oh,
right.
Disappeared now.
Have you got me back now? Have you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't see anything because my screen's completely.
Oh, your screen's blank. Okay. Well, maybe you can just tell us. Maybe you can just tell us, and yes. And maybe what you could do is perhaps you could share the PowerPoint with us, and I can send it on to people, and they can have a look at it. That would be good.
That.
Yeah,
I can do that. I will read from it then.
Okay.
That's a bit rubbish. I had some nice pictures.
I'm sure you did. It looked good. It's just that all we could see was thank you and goodbye.
Oh no. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I've told you about the online transparent online language learning. So that's something you can access with your library card, which is really good. That's quite a new thing to the library, and it's over 120 languages on there, which is really good. So the next thing that I was going to talk to you about is we've also got an iPad loaning service. So again, with your library card, you can drop into any of our libraries and ask to borrow an iPad, which might be really good for some of our diverse communities that might not have that technology at home. Especially I'm thinking of like some of our refugees that come in and they don't have access to the computers at home. So this might be a really good thing for a lot of people. So you can borrow the iPads for up to 6 weeks. It's completely free. All of the iPads have got like preloaded apps onto them. So there's like an app on there for they can do job searches. There's a health and well-being support app on there. There's a really sort of easy to use like how to use the iPad video on there. It also comes with a keyboard and headphones as well, which is really good. They're all internet ready as well, so people don't have to worry about like setting up the Wi-Fi and stuff, because I think it's all like preloaded on there to make it really easy. And yeah, so you can go to any of your library and just ask them about the iPad loaning, and they'll be able to explain that in the library. I'll just move on to the next slide. Oh, I'm gutted you can't see the slides.
You could try it again if you want to. You can try it again if you want to try again.
No, don't worry.
Okay.
I think it's my laptop.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm just sorry. I'll send it out to you.
Sure.
Okay.
Can I just ask? I'll just ask a question if you don't mind. How do you get a library card? Do you need to have proof of address to get a library card?
So, yes, you do. But we did do something with our Ukrainian guests who we did like a bit of a welcome to Langport thing, and we managed to sign all of those families up with a library card. So I think they can be, I don't think it's like really strict, like they wouldn't need like a bank statement or anything, you know, it's not that strict, but if they can sort of indicate that they do have an address, because you need to put it when you have set up the library cards, and because they obviously need to put you on a system, they will need an address on there. So yeah, I mean, if they have got something with an address on, that's helpful.
Okay.
But you know, if they've got like I'm just thinking of the refugee or asylum seekers, if they've probably might have a caseworker or someone working with them from the council, they might even be able to put like a council address on there.
Okay.
If they, you know, if they're living in temporary accommodation or something, there will be ways around that. But it's really easy to get the library cards. If you just go into any of our 32 libraries across Somerset, and they can sign you up really, really quickly. It's like within sort of 5 minutes. And then you just get your little plastic library card, and you have a PIN number as well, 4-digit PIN number. So they'll ask you what what numbers you want to use for that. But then they have a record of that as well. So if you ever forget your PIN number, you can go into the library and say, oh, you know, I've forgotten what it is, and then they can, you know, remind you what it is. But it's really easy to do, and definitely worth having one. So as well as the iPad loaning, all of our libraries have got computers in them, and they've all got access to the internet. There's free Wi-Fi as well in all of our libraries. So again, you need the library card, but it's free. So it's a free library card. So it's definitely worth doing. And which brings me on to the next slide, which you can't see, which was to say that we're also one of this warm spaces. I know one of your other speakers was talking about that. So all of our libraries are warm spaces. So even if people don't have a library card, they can come into the library. It's a place that they can come into to be warm. You know, no one's going to ever turn them away. They can come in and browse the books for free. You know, you don't need a library card to come into the library and sit down and have a look at the books and just sit quietly. And, you know, it's a place for people to come to feel safe and warm. So that's something I wanted to mention as well. We've also got loads of ebooks and audiobooks as well, which is really good. And we do have quite a good collection of different languages in our libraries as well. So in our bigger libraries, there's obviously a wider selection of languages, but that's really nice as well, I think. You know, for communities where English isn't their first language, it's nice, isn't it, to be able to see a book in your own language. So that's a positive thing as well. And also, we're always open if people know of any particular books or resources that they think would be really good to have in the library, to let us know, because we can order books in. We also have in our libraries, it's called the Reading Well section. So like I'm just thinking Taunton Library, for example, has got a really nice big well-being space in the library where there's collections of books to help with mental health. And now we've also got a Reading Well section just aimed at children and most recently teenagers as well, which is really good. We also have blood pressure monitor kits, which people can borrow, which is really, which is amazing, isn't it? Yeah. So again, come into the library and you can use, you can check your blood pressure monitor. Waiting times for GPs at the moment is, it's really big, isn't it? It's a really difficult thing to try and get in to see your GP. So you can come to the library, you can check your blood pressure, you can borrow one of those as well. All of this information that I'm giving you is all available on the Somerset Library's website as well. And there's also links on there, so you can click on the links. It will take you through to videos that explain it in probably a bit more better detail than what I'm currently doing. So that's a really good thing. And then I think it's Taunton Library and Bridgewater, I think Burnham Library have one as well. We've actually got big machines that you can stand on. It's like a health check machine. Wow. So you can, they're really good, and it will tell you about your BMI and all that type of stuff, and it will do your blood pressure. We even have NHS health checks happening at our libraries as well on certain days. People can come into the library and have a free health check, which is really good, because again, if you can't get to your GP, you can come to the library.
I think that's information that is really valuable information that doesn't seem to be out there. We look at the news and everybody's saying the GP crisis and this, that, and the other and everything else. But in actual fact, the libraries are offering a service that could alleviate a lot of that. Yeah. So that's amazing.
Definitely. Like I said, if you go onto our website, you can access all this information on there, and it will give you, there's videos, and I think they've got a video from it says Clinton Rogers with Dr. Solomon Labis, who talks about our local scheme, and also they'll demonstrate how you use them as well, which is really good. So it's worth going on the website to look at those. We also do, this hasn't launched yet, I think it's due to launch very, very soon, where we offer people free data. So I think we're working in partnership with the Good Things Foundation. So it offers free data vouchers or SIM cards for people who are in need. So what they've put on here, it helps thousands of vulnerable people in communities across the UK to get connected. It's been built in support with Virgin Media and O2. And apparently you'll be able to get the free data vouchers, all the SIMs, from Bridgewater Library, Chard Library, Taunton Library, Shepton Mallet, Minehead and Yeovil. So that's really good. It says in order to get the free SIM or data, you have to be 18 or over. You need to be from a low income household, no access or insufficient access to internet at home. It says you have no internet access when you're away from the home either. So it's and or, so you don't have to meet all these criteria, but you can just have one of those criteria, and then you can get a free SIM card, which is really, really good as well for a lot of people.
Particularly refugees or asylum seekers.
Definitely.
Yes,
yeah, that's really important actually, because I know with refugees when they come over, it depends on which county they go into. Some counties don't offer, but some do. But most refugees will not have a phone that's going to work in this country. So to be able to have the sim that they can use that's got data on it is going to be a really, really helpful thing, isn't it? Especially if they need to be in contact with their family who they've been displaced from. So yeah, it is a really good thing, actually. And then finally, we've got our BorrowBox app, which is, it would be so useful if you could see it on the screen. So once you've got your library card and you're a member of the library, you can access thousands of books online on your device, on your phone, on your laptop, on your tablet. So we've got a BorrowBox app, which it's a free app. And with that app, you can access there's a whole wealth of audio books and ebooks as well. And there's a lot in other languages on there, which is really, really good. And then the other app that I wanted to talk about was our Libby app. So yeah, when I send you the PowerPoint, you'll have it. There's pictures of what these apps look like, so you'll know what you're looking for when you're downloading it onto your device. So the Libby app I just think it's amazing. You get access to free magazines and newspapers. Yeah, so like I was saying to volunteers at an event we did a couple of weeks ago, I love crafting, and I would spend a lot of money on crafting magazines. They're like £7-8 now, I think, in the shops. You can get the magazines on this app for free.
Wow.
which is really, really good. So there's newspapers as well. I don't know, I think they also do magazines on there from other languages as well, so it's not just UK magazines. There's magazines from across the world, so that's another really nice feature to have. I think that's it. There's probably loads of other stuff that I could tell you about.
But it looks like the libraries are doing incredible stuff. And just with that app, I mean, that would be great for people who are out there in the community servicing clients whose English is not their first language. I mean, they can get magazines and things like that in English, which is light reading, really. It's not like trying to read a novel or a book, that you know, short articles that could certainly help them with that as well as another tool. So no, that's wonderful. Thank you very much, Sarah. We are running a little bit over time, so I'm just going to go right into Jenny from Spark. Are you there, Jenny?
I am, yeah, sorry, I was just doing the classic turning the computer back on and everything again. No, thank you. Thanks for having me. I will try and keep my bit fairly brief, but it's just been really interesting to hear. I sort of came in about 11:30, just really interesting to hear all the things that are going on that actually even I didn't know about as well. So yeah, especially the services the library provide that just were,
yes,
well, I was unaware of. So really, always really helpful to kind of listen to other organisations and what they offer and what support's out there as well. So thank you. So I work for Spark Somerset, and I was asked to come along today to talk about some of the support that we've got available during the winter, and predominantly for us it's around the Warm Spaces initiative. So Spark Somerset have been commissioned by the County Council to coordinate the setup of warm spaces across the county. It's obviously been kind of talked about nationally, but the general premise behind it is that venues, community centres, churches, village halls, leisure centres, all sorts of different places, libraries as well, open up their doors to offer a warm, safe space for people if they need to use it this winter. The idea isn't it's necessarily about people that have got nowhere else to go, particularly. It's around people that might think, you know what, I just could really do without having to heat my home for those couple of hours, or I need a space to work and I'm kind of struggling with the cost of working at home. I just want somewhere to go to get a little bit of company. I just want to see some other people. You know, I just want to come and get a hot drink. So it really is around offering a space for anybody that needs it, kind of regardless of their situation. And the idea is that it's a sort of a non-judgmental place people can go. They won't be questioned what they're doing there. They won't be kind of asked why they need to be here. they'll be welcomed by a friendly face, like I say, offered a cup of tea and a biscuit if they're lucky, and just have somewhere that they can spend some time that is heated, and like I say, that is not kind of at any cost to themselves. So what we've been doing is working with venues across the county to get them to sign up. So there is a kind of national scheme that's been going for a little while, but we're obviously starting up something Somerset based. So the idea being that the venues kind of sign up, they say, yes, we're happy to provide, the absolute minimum they have to do is just a hot drink and a place to sit. There's venues that are kind of providing over and above that because they're geared up to do it already. They've already got resources to potentially provide hot meals. For example, the libraries obviously can provide access to books, magazines, computers, Wi-Fi, things like that. So it's really down to kind of venues as to what they can or can't commit to providing. So there's no sort of expectation, like I say, over and above a hot drink, hopefully. And in terms of Spark Somerset, we're there to support those venues. So if, for example, you've got a church come to you and say, do you know, we'd really like to open up our space, but we don't really quite know how to go about it. We need a little bit of money, perhaps, to help us cover the extra costs that we're going to incur for opening for other people, or that we maybe need a couple of extra volunteers because we haven't got a sufficient number of people to kind of man it, or that there's some things we think we should have in place, or we don't really kind of know where to go. That's where Spark can support. So we've got a team of advisors, in one per district, who can just talk to those venues about some of the things to put in place, some things to consider, and basically kind of hold their hand to get to the point where they're able to say, yep, we're here, we're open, this is when we're available, kind of come on down, anyone that needs to use us. And in terms of kind of venues and their commitment and what they're expected to do, it's really up to them as to what they have the capacity to do. So there's no requirement to sort of say you must open for at least 10 hours a week or anything like that. So what we're generally finding is that we've got venues who perhaps say, well, we hold a coffee morning on a Wednesday morning anyway. What we're going to do is we're either going to open that up to a wider group of people, so it may previously have been just for a very specific group, or they'll go, but actually we could also open on a Thursday morning for a couple of hours as well, and we'll kind of throw our doors open on a different day. So like I say, it really is down to venues capacity, and there's no kind of criteria in place about what you have to be able to commit to, and like I said, what you have to be able to kind of support. So if we've got quite a lot of churches signed up, but they are probably unsurprisingly predominantly Christian churches, or the various Christian denominations. So if there are venues that you guys kind of come across, or organizations you're working with who think, yeah, we'd be keen, we'd like to support our community better, but they don't really quite know how to go about doing it, like, we're really happy to come and meet with them, have a chat over phone, email, whatever's going to be most convenient to sort of talk about how that could potentially work for them. There is some money available, albeit a small pot from the Community Foundation available to kind of help people get up and running if they need it. On the flip side of that, we've also then obviously got the fact that those spaces are open to everybody and anybody, and it's about kind of promoting the fact that they are there. So we've got a map which has been created by South Somerset District Council of all of the venues and facilities that have signed up so far. That's live on the website, which I'll give you the details of in a second. And so again, it's just a case of kind of promoting that as far and wide as we possibly can, to say, look, if you're in your local community, you want somewhere to go, over the winter months, here's a link to where you can find that information. And you can go on there and click on the various pins on the map, and they'll tell you what time they're open, what services they can offer you as well, contact number if you want to phone them and kind of find out the sort of lie of the land before you go, email addresses and things like that. So that's all out there. We recognise that not everyone is on the internet, and not everyone can just access that information freely and easily. So we're working with the county council at the moment about a contact number that people can phone if they just want to, if they, like I say, if they can't get online for whatever reason, or they can't, all the information that is online isn't accessible to them, that they can contact and just find out where their nearest venue is, and they can say, yeah, I can see that there's one in Merriott Village Hall, 10 o'clock on a Tuesday, here's a contact number, jot it down, and kind of off you go. So There's a website which is called warmwelcomesomerset.org.uk, which I'll stick in the chat as well for you to jot down, which basically gives the information about all of the venues that are out there. But then it's also got links for if venues would like to sign up themselves as well, to say this is how you do it, this is the kind of support that's available. So it's very much, we know that communities are out there doing amazing things already. They don't necessarily need us to kind of formalize any process for them, but it's a case of saying that if you do want a little bit of help and support, you do want your venue listed on this map, just let us know and we'll kind of help you to make it happen. That Somerset wide map is being, obviously that's the main point people are being directed to in terms of organisations that might be referring people onto any kind of warm space, to say, actually, you know, did you know there's places within your community that are open that you could potentially go. So from that point of view, obviously we want to try and make it as comprehensive and as representative of what is truly out there as possible, but recognising that there may well be lots of venues out there doing their own thing, and that's completely fine. It's not about us trying to have control over everyone and anyone that's offering a warm venue this winter. It's just about, you know, if you do want to be recognised on that county-wide map, or if you need any help and support or anything at all, then kind of get in touch with us and we will work with you to help. So I'll stick that in the chat. It's an ongoing process. There's no cut-off point at which people can decide they want to get set up. So it's kind of an offer, and also we anticipate that there will be venues that go come the end of March and the weather hopefully improves. That's it. We've kind of done what we set out to do, and we're just going to go back to whatever we were doing before. There may be some that want to kind of carry on, and there may be some that just want to talk about where do we go from here as an organisation as a whole, you know, what other support do we need, and that's where I suppose Spark, in our what you would class as our day job, is around supporting the voluntary sector to make it sustainable. So if you've got organisations that are going, okay, well, we've got this really great plan, we'd really love to try and make it happen, but we need some funding, or we're looking for some more volunteers, or that we're not really quite sure if we're set up in the right way, we're not really quite sure if we've got all the policies and things we should have in place, or we're just not really sure where our next step should be about kind of making ourselves sustainable, then that's very much the kind of bread and butter of what we're here to do. So I suppose for me, it's partly about informing you about warm spaces and the fact that that scheme is kind of up and running if people are interested, but also about saying that generally we're here to support organisations in whatever way we can, so that they can then better help their communities, because they're kind of set up, they're well funded, they've got the right amount of volunteers to help them moving forward and things like that. So that was a very whistle-stop talk, so I'm conscious that you guys are probably all talked out by now, but yeah, hopefully that was helpful. And basically, I think similar to what the lady from CSE said, that we recognise that not everything we do is probably accessible to everybody, but it's a case of if you've got people that you think actually you really need to hear this information, or this could be really useful to you, we're really happy to be flexible, do whatever is needed to make it accessible to everybody. And kind of hear from the people that know better than we do about how we can kind of get that message out there better.
That's great. Thank you very much. In regards to your funding, you know, because often faith communities are very small, they're not incorporated, they're not all of the words that they need to be.
Yeah.
Do they need to go through a process for you to help them do that before they can apply for your funding, or can they apply regardless?
So we don't have a funding pot of our own specifically that we give out for projects, but what we do is we help groups find those sources of funding, and work with them to kind of get their funding, you know, application to a point at which it's ready to submit, and that they kind of know the things to say, the things not to say, the information to include and stuff. But all of that stuff around the organisational setup, its governance structure and things like that, again, that's something that we're here to help with. So if someone just goes, we want to do this project, but we don't even really think we're set up properly as an organisation, absolutely, that's where we can help. So we'll do some one-to-one support with them around, what things do they need to have in place, what do they need to, you know, what do they want to do as an organisation ultimately, and then help them kind of get to the point where they're set up correctly to be able to do that. So yeah.
And for the warm spaces funding, do they still need to be set up like that, or is that something different?
So the warm spaces funding is through Somerset Community Foundation. And so there was a small warm spaces pot. However, there is now a larger cost of living pot where groups can apply for up to £10,000. In terms of setup, they will usually want them to be, they will need to be constituted. So they will need to have some sort of governing document that says this is who we are, this is how we run, and this is the kind of purpose of our organisation. They don't necessarily need to be a registered charity, they don't need to be incorporated, they don't need to be in many of the kind of legal structures that exist, but they will need to be formalised in some way. So like I say, having a governing document and having a bank account, and having a safeguarding policy as well if they do any work that, you know, where that would be necessary. All of those things are things that we can help with. So we're really happy to do so if that's beneficial to people. So absolutely point people in our direction.
And they do need to be kind of an organisation. The reason I ask is often, you know, small migrant or faith communities, you know, maybe only 2 or 3 people, and you know, they're conscious, you know, the Baha'i lady down the road is conscious that she's got some friends or whatever in the next village, and she knows that they can't afford their electricity, so she wants to create a small space, a warm space, where she can invite them and perhaps other few people in the village. Would something like that qualify, or do they have to be an organisation?
I need to double check. So when there was originally just warm spaces funding, absolutely yes, because it isn't about those properly set up organisations necessarily. It's about responding to that community need and saying, you know what, we need to make something happen here, and we're just going to make it happen. And because it's smaller pots of money, I will double check and let you know if the criteria for this cost of living fund, because there's more money available, is the same, or if there is any kind of need to be a little bit more structured. There are pots of money out there where people in that exact situation can apply. So it's certainly not a case of if you're not properly structured, if you like, or if you don't have any kind of governing document behind you. If you're just looking for a few £100s just to make something happen, that's fairly, you know, that's fairly feasible to come by. If they were saying to me, we're not structured in any way, but we would like £10,000 to do this, then realistically, yes, that's going to be that's going to be a tall order to find anyone that will be willing to kind of make that level of investment. But if it is a case of we just need a couple of £100s to get this thing up and running, then it's much more likely that you'll be able to find something suitable where all that kind of governance and paperwork doesn't necessarily need to be in place yet. There will always be the aspiration that they would prefer that to be the case. But yeah, it's a case of trying not to make that the blocker to something happening and something reacting to a need as well. So,
and would they apply through you, these small little groups of people?
So like I say, we don't have funding ourselves to give out, but if they are saying, if they know what they want and how much they need, but they don't know where to look for it, absolutely come to us, and we're happy to talk through what their kind of options might be and what pots of money and things might be out there. So yeah, please do send them our way. So like I say, there's a person in each district that offers that kind of one-to-one support and advice for groups, and if it's okay with you, I'll share their contact details afterwards, and you'll have very welcome to kind of directly contact the person, you know, according to whatever part of the county they live in.
Because I think that's, you know, for certainly people who are still left on here, and I think was part of our internet issues that quite a few people have dropped off, but as I said, we're recording it, so hopefully this will go out to a lot of people. So people who are working in communities with people, visiting people in houses and things like that, this could also be a way of getting people to engage, people who are isolated, getting them to engage, not particularly wanting to go out to a church group or whatever, but perhaps, you know, getting a few people that are your clients together to say, you know, there might be a small amount of funding. We could speak to Spark and see if we could get you to get a warm space in your own home or something, which meets quite a few needs, keeping people warm, getting people out of their own homes, or even if they're staying in their own homes, having, you know, social interaction around very cold and depressing times. So yes, so look, thank you so much. I'd just like to take one or two, I know we're running a little bit over, but 1 or 2 minutes for perhaps Sarah to explain who you are, and Emmeline, so that we've got people who are actually on the ground or working with people on the ground that are actually in the communities. So Sarah, do you want to just give us a quick brief overview?
Hi, so my name's Sarah and I'm with Caris Refugees. So I'm their resettlement worker. So I'm based now at our Welcome Centre in Hammett Street in Taunton, which is also the local welcome hub.
And have you found this information? Do you think this is going to be helpful to the people that you're working with and you're assisting?
Yeah, I think this morning's been really very useful. So thank you very much.
That's great. That's great. And please let us know, if we can do this again, what else you might need. Take it back to your community, your fellow workers, and we're more than happy to set something up like this again. It was fairly short notice because the cost of living crisis is really upon us, but maybe in the new year we could do something a little bit more larger, bringing in different groups, bringing in different communities. So thank you very much for attending. And Emmeline? Hello.
Hello. Hi, good morning. Good morning. No, nearly
Yes.
lunchtime, isn't it? So
Yes.
good afternoon. So I work for Sedgemoor District Council, and part of my role is to support the local pantries and all types of organisations that are associated with that. So part of this that has been incredibly useful is actually, I know all of your guest speakers, so it's all lovely to see you all again, and to keep up to date with what is happening, so I can share that information with the groups that I connect with as well. It's not always easy for all of them to jump onto some of these meetings, so if I'm aware of it, I can share the information, or better still, connecting those agencies with the groups that I'm working with who would absolutely benefit from knowing what they're all doing. Actually, the majority of them would be connected in as well, but it's just really good and important to keep in the know, basically.
Oh, perfect. That's actually what this was all for people within those communities or connected to those communities to get some information to kind of say, yes, I know it's all hard, but these people will help you, or try those. And so for our speakers today and for people that have attended, thank you so much. There is a lot of information out there, but there's also a lot of need. And so, if we can, slowly, one by one, help somebody, then I think, we can sleep well at night. So you're all doing wonderful work. Thank you so very much for everything that you're doing and for giving your time today. And now you can all go off and get a warm drink. So thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Celebrate. Have a happy Christmas. Safe New Year. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.